welcome to Run the Length, an accelerated gameplay commentary series covering Marvel Crisis Protocol. The matchup today is Nate Horn, a co-host of Alfredo's Size 3 Taco Truck, a Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast, playing Brotherhood, versus my Inhumans. Nate is playing the roster he played in the team tournament, which has some exciting synergy with Lockjaw, and I am playing the new kid on the block, Inhumans. I have put together a list I think is pretty competitive, but there hasn't been enough Inhumans play yet to really know what the best build is. Nate wins priority and chooses Secures. Nate picks Infinity Formula, Goes Missing. I pick Fear Grips the World as Worthy Terrorized Cities. Nate's team is Magneto, Sabretooth, Mystique, and M.O.D.O.K. Nate's tactics cards are All You've Got, Deception, Field Dressing, Asteroid M, and Magnetic Refraction. My roster is Black Bolt, Medusa, Lockjaw, Valkyrie, and Crystal. My tactics cards are Inhuman Royal Family, M.O.D.O.K, Field Dressing, Blind Obsession, and All You've Got. Here's the deployment and terrain sizes. Nate announces that he is using the Magneto leadership. Magneto places his construct next to the truck. Nate activates Sabretooth and walks twice and picks up the Far Hammer. I activate Lockjaw, he gets 3 power from Who's a Good Boy. I use the Inhumans leadership to move a power from Lockjaw to Black Bolt. He teleports Black Bolt up and walks up next to Black Bolt. Nate passes. I activate Crystal and walk up to the hammer and pick it up. She then moves over to my close canister. I'm trying really hard to not get pulled to my death by deception, but still having enough scary stuff left that he can't go pick up the hammer with Mystique. Nate activates Mystique and runs over to the hammer and scoops it up. I activate Valk and double walk to Mystique and throw her toward my team. Nate activates Magneto and double walks up to the canister and makes sure he is within range 3 of Valk and Mystique. He plays Magnetic Refraction to give Mystique cover. I activate Black Bolt. I use the Inhumans leadership to move a power from Lockjaw to Black Bolt. Black Bolt uses Focus Power to add 2 dice to his next attack, and Energy Bolts Sabretooth, dealing 2 damage. Sabretooth uses Aggressive and doesn't manage to get to the point. Bolt attacks again, dealing 4 damage, which dazes Tooth. Black Bolt picks up Tooth's hammer. Nate activates M.O.D.O.K, who grabs the hammer and double walks onto the canister. I activate Medusa and walk up to Mystique and attack her. The attack does 3 damage and a Wild Flurry and a push. Medusa's basic strike is a bit of a trip. It has 2 after the attack is resolved effects and can do them in either order. In this case, I choose to push Mystique out of cover and martial artist range before making my flurry attack. The flurry attack does no damage. I spend 2 power to use Royal Decree and pull Valk away from Magneto. I use the Inhuman leadership to move 1 power from Medusa to Crystal. This ends the turn. Nate scores 2 points from hammers and 2 points from canisters. I score 2 points from hammers and 2 points from canisters. Score is now 4-4. Hey guys, I cut out the mid-roll ad because I wanted to take a quick moment to talk to you about my Patreon. It has really cool MCP-compatible status effects tokens. They are designed by Dano Emanetti and Nick Mecha. Token status patrons in March will receive 6 of these poison tokens. Each month there's going to be a new token, and they're all as cool as this one. If these tokens aren't your style, there are a bunch of perks for being on the inside track as well. Nate places a construct from Magneto. Magneto, M.O.D.O.K, Black Bolt, Medusa, and Valk all get an extra power from Infinity Formula. Nate activates Sabretooth and does a Savage Predator into Black Bolt. I spend 2 power to use Anti-Graviton Field, which gives Black Bolt 2 extra dice. The attack only does 1 damage and doesn't trigger the second attack. Tooth uses No Mercy to add 1 dice to his next attack and hits Bolt, dealing 2 damage. I activate Crystal and move 1 power from Valk to Crystal. This will let me use Elemental Onslaught on the first attack. Crystal uses Volcanic Surge to attack Mystique. Mystique takes 1 damage and becomes incinerated. I use Elemental Onslaught to attack Mystique with Hydrokinesis. The attack dazes Mystique. Mystique drops her hammer and Crystal is just out of range to pick it up, so she walks up and grabs it. This kill is really big. It means I won't have Magneto in my face this turn via Asteroid M. Nate activates M.O.D.O.K and walks to within 4 of Black Bolt and attacks him. M.O.D.O.K does 2 damage, dazing Black Bolt, and saps a power from him. I activate Lockjaw He gains 3 power from Who's a Good Boy, since it does not care about whether the nearby model is dazed. He walks onto the point and attacks Sabretooth, dealing 1 damage and bleed. Nate passes. I play Field Dressing to remove Daze from Black Bolt and heal him for 1. I activate Black Bolt. I focus power a strike on M.O.D.O.K. I deal 3 damage. Pierce has a really interesting interaction with M.O.D.O.K's psionic force field. Since the attacker modifies dice first, I get to take away one of his hits with my wild before my wild changes to a blank. I focus power and attack M.O.D.O.K. again, dealing 2 damage. I use the Inhumans leadership to take a power from Lockjaw. Black Bolt spends 4 power to play All You've Got and gets to immediately activate again. I focus power and attack M.O.D.O.K. again. I deal 3 damage. I focus power and attack again, dazing M.O.D.O.K. I drop M.O.D.O.K's hammer on the other side of the car. All You've Got dazes Black Bolt. Nate passes. I activate Valk and walk up to Magneto. I throw Magneto away and walk back to the canister on my side. Nate activates Magneto and throws his construct into space. He gives 1 power to Sabretooth and 1 power to himself. He plays Asteroid M. He places himself next to Sabretooth. Magneto picks up the hammer and attacks Lockjaw, dealing 3 damage. He attacks Lockjaw again, dealing 4 damage, dazing Lockjaw. Magneto plays Field Dressing on M.O.D.O.K. for 5 power due to holding a hammer. I activate Medusa. She uses Royal Decree to move Crystal onto the canister. She uses the Inhuman leadership to give 1 power to Crystal. She walks, then climbs onto the canister. This ends the turn. Nate scores 1 from hammers and 1 from canisters. I score 2 from hammers and 2 from canisters. Score is now 5-8. M.O.D.O.K. and my entire team get an extra power from Infinity Formula. Nate drops his construct. I play Blind Obsession on Black Bolt and choose M.O.D.O.K. as his obsession. I'm not 100% sure this is correct. The idea here is that M.O.D.O.K. is likely to kill Black Bolt if he uses All You've Got. The hope here is that he either has to kill Black Bolt with Magneto, or I can kill M.O.D.O.K. before he activates, or Black Bolt lives through M.O.D.O.K.'s attacks due to Blind Obsession. Nate activates Magneto. He throws the big truck at Black Bolt, dealing 5 damage. Magneto attacks Black Bolt. I use Anti-Graviton Field to boost my defense by 2. The attack does 4 damage and KOs Black Bolt. Maybe Blind Obsession was a bad call. Magneto throws a construct at Lockjaw, dealing 3 damage. Magneto attacks Lockjaw, KOing him. I activate Crystal and attack Mystique with Volcanic Surge, dealing 4 damage. She uses Elemental Onslaught for a free attack and attacks Mystique with Hydrokinesis and misses. Crystal attacks again with Volcanic Surge and KOs Mystique. Nate activates Sabretooth, walks over to the hammer and picks it up. He walks next to the fountain. He takes 1 from bleed and heals 1 from his healing factor. I activate Valk and charge Sabretooth. She strikes Sabretooth for 4 damage. Sabretooth counterattacks, dealing 2 damage and bleed. Valk does a Warrior of Legend Dragon Fang into Sabretooth. She misses Sabretooth. Valk throws the construct into Sabretooth and KOs him. Valk uses the Inhuman leadership and takes a power from Crystal. She uses the power to pick up the hammer. Valk takes a damage from bleed. Nate activates M.O.D.O.K. and walks toward Medusa twice. M.O.D.O.K. spends 2 power to make Valk bow to the will of M.O.D.O.K., advancing her towards his team. He spends 2 power to throw the Daily Bugle at Valk, dealing 2 damage. I activate Medusa and walk her out of line of sight of M.O.D.O.K. I think this is probably wrong, as dealing 1 damage to M.O.D.O.K. will heavily impact Nate's ability to play All You've Got in a meaningful way. But on the other hand, failing to do the 1 damage is a disaster. This ends the turn. Nate scores 1 from hammers. I score 3 from hammers, 2 from Infinity Formula. Score is now 7-13. Magneto places his construct. Nate activates M.O.D.O.K. and walks towards Medusa. He uses Bow to the Will of M.O.D.O.K. to move Medusa. He attacks Crystal with Psionic Blast. He does 5 damage, saps a power, and dazes Crystal. M.O.D.O.K. pays 4 power to play All You've Got and immediately activates again. He pays 2 power to pick up 2 hammers. M.O.D.O.K. throws the fountain into Medusa. She takes 4 damage. He strikes Medusa, dealing 2 damage, dazing her. M.O.D.O.K. attacks Valk and dazes her. Valk drops her hammer by Magneto. M.O.D.O.K. dazes from All You've Got and drops his hammer near Crystal. Well, I guess I'm not going to play this turn. Nate activates Magneto, walks him to the hammer and scoops it up. Then walks again. This ends the turn. Nate scores 1 from hammers. Score is now 8-13. Magneto places his construct. I activate Valk. I throw Magneto away from my team. Valk charges M.O.D.O.K and does 1 damage. And here I make a horrible mistake by misreading the board state. I forget that M.O.D.O.K used All You've Got last turn. I don't realize that he has 3 hit points and is on his injured side. I think I just dazed him by doing 1 damage. So I pick up the hammers and run from Magneto instead of trying to put M.O.D.O.K down. I play Inhuman Royal Family on Crystal and Medusa. This gives them a token that lets them reroll all their dice. I'm hoping this will help them stay alive. Nate activates M.O.D.O.K and uses Bow to the Will of M.O.D.O.K to bring Valk back to M.O.D.O.K. M.O.D.O.K does a Psionic Blast into Valk. He does 3 damage and saps 1 power. He uses Psionic Blast on Crystal. She uses Inhuman Royal Family to reroll 2 dice, and M.O.D.O.K still manages to do 5, KOing her. He bows Medusa towards Magneto. I activate Medusa and attack M.O.D.O.K with Braid Bash. She uses her Royal Family token to reroll 4 dice and manages the 3 damage to kill M.O.D.O.K. I use Royal Decree to place Medusa on the other side of Valk. Then I use Royal Decree again to move Valk behind the truck and on the canister. Medusa walks over to the other canister. I think I should have played this differently after I killed M.O.D.O.K. I should have thrown Magneto away and moved Valk as far from Magneto as possible. Nate activates Magneto. He double walks towards Valk and throws the truck at Valk. This KOs Valk and she drops her hammers. Magneto picks them up. Magneto throws a construct at Medusa, dealing 2 damage. This ends the turn. Nate scores 4 points from holding all the hammers. I score 1 from the canister Medusa is standing on. Score is now 12-14. Medusa gets an extra power from the canister, and Magneto drops his construct. I activate Medusa, and it's kill Magneto or lose the game. So she walks within 3 and attacks him. Magneto uses Force Projection to increase his defense by 2. I miss the attack and don't hit the Wild Flurry. Realizing I can't win, I concede. Really close game. I think Nate did a really good job showing why you should never give up in MCP. I had a huge advantage going into turn 3, but I made a handful of mistakes that really cost me the game. I think the worst was not going for the M.O.D.O.K kill with Valk. If I get that, suddenly the game is Magneto versus my entire team. But what did you think of the game? Are Inhumans any good? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, secure that subscribe button. I'm Vincent Curkov, and this has been Run the Length.